the crime of robbery in violation of TCA Section 39-13-202 and against the peace and dignity of the state of Tennessee. Fourth count, the grand jurors for the state of Tennessee, upon their oaths, present that LaTwan D. Osborne, alias LaTwan DeWright Osborne, alias Tweezy G74, alias Tweezy, alias and Edward Wilson, alias and Marquis Dexter Ellis, on or about the 5th day of April, 2024 in Knox County, Tennessee, and before the finding of this presentment, did unlawfully kill Danishka Mejia during the perpetration of or attempt to perpetrate the crime of kidnapping in violation of TCA Section 39-13-202 and against the peace and dignity of the state of Tennessee. Fifth count, the grand jurors for the state of Tennessee, upon their oaths, present that LaTwan D. Osborne, alias LaTwan DeWright Osborne, alias Tweezy G74, alias Tweezy, alias and Edward Wilson, alias and Marquis Dexter Ellis, on or about the 5th day of April, 2024 in Knox County, Tennessee, and before the finding of this presentment, did unlawfully kill Danishka Mejia during the perpetration of or attempt to perpetrate the crime of kidnapping in violation of TCA Section 39-13-202 and against the peace and dignity of the state of Tennessee. Sixth count, the grand jurors for the state of Tennessee, upon their oaths, present that LaTwan D. Osborne, alias LaTwan DeWright Osborne, alias Tweezy G74, alias Tweezy, alias and Edward Wilson, alias and Marquis Dexter Ellis, on or about the 5th day of April, 2024 in Knox County, Tennessee, and before the finding of this presentment, did unlawfully, intentionally, and with premeditation kill Danishka Mejia in violation of TCA Section 39-13-202 and against the peace and dignity of the state of Tennessee. Seventh count, the grand jurors for the state of Tennessee, upon their oaths, present that LaTwan D. Osborne, alias LaTwan DeWright Osborne, alias Tweezy G74, alias Tweezy, alias and Edward Wilson, alias and Marquis Dexter Ellis, on or about the 5th day of April, 2024 in Knox County, Tennessee, and before the finding of this presentment, did unlawfully and intentionally enter a habitation without the effect of the owner, Katia Young, with intent to commit assault while acting in concert with two or more other persons as defined by TCA Section 39-12-301 in violation of TCA Section 39-13-1003 and against the peace and dignity of the state of Tennessee. Eighth count, the grand jurors for the state of Tennessee, upon their oaths, present that LaTwan D. Osborne, alias LaTwan DeWright Osborne, alias Tweezy G74, alias Tweezy, alias and Edward Wilson, alias and Marquis Dexter Ellis, on or about the 5th day of April, 2024 in Knox County, Tennessee, and before the finding of this presentment, did unlawfully and intentionally enter a habitation without the effective consent of the owner, Katia Young, with intent to commit kidnapping while acting in concert with two or more other persons as defined by TCA Section 39-12-301 in violation of TCA Section 39-13-1003 and against the peace and dignity of the state of Tennessee. Ninth count, the grand jurors for the state of Tennessee, upon their oaths, present that LaTwan D. Osborne, alias LaTwan DeWright Osborne, alias Tweezy G74, alias Tweezy, alias and Edward Wilson, alias and Marquis Dexter Ellis, on or about the 5th day of April, 2024 in Knox County, Tennessee, and before the finding of this presentment, did unlawfully and knowingly enter a habitation without the effective consent of the owner, Katia Young, and committed or attempted to commit assault in violation of TCA Section 39-13-1003 and against the peace and dignity of the state of Tennessee. 10th count, the grand jurors for the state of Tennessee, upon their oaths, present that LaTwan D. Osborne, alias LaTwan DeWright Osborne, alias Tweezy G74, alias Tweezy, alias and Edward Wilson, alias and Marquis Dexter Ellis, on or about the 5th day of April, 2024 in Knox County, Tennessee, and before the finding of this presentment, did unlawfully and intentionally employ a firearm during the commission of a dangerous felony specifically aggravated burglary, as defined in TCA Section 39-13-1003, in violation of TCA Section 39-17-1324, and against the peace and dignity of the state of Tennessee. 11th count. The grand jurors for the state of Tennessee, upon their oaths, present that Latwan D. Osborne, alias Latwan DeWright Osborne, alias Tweezy G74, alias Tweezy, alias, and Edward Wilson, alias, and Marquis Dexter Ellis, on or about the 5th day of April, 2024, in Knox County, Tennessee, and before the finding of this presentment, did unlawfully, intentionally, and with premeditation attempt to kill Katia Young, causing serious bodily injury, in violation of TCA Section 39-12-101 and 39-13-202, and against the peace and dignity of the state of Tennessee. 12th count. The grand jurors for the state of Tennessee, upon their oaths, present that Latwan D. Osborne, alias Latwan DeWright Osborne, alias Tweezy G74, alias Tweezy, alias, and Edward Wilson, alias, and Marquis Dexter Ellis, on or about the 5th day of April, 2024, in Knox County, Tennessee, and before the finding of this presentment, did unlawfully and intentionally employ a firearm during the commission of a dangerous felony, specifically attempt to commit first-degree murder, as defined in TCA Section 39-12-101 and 39-13-202, in violation of TCA Section 39-17-1324, and against the peace and dignity of the state of Tennessee. 13th count. The grand jurors for the state of Tennessee, upon their oaths, present that Latwan D. Osborne, alias Latwan DeWright Osborne, alias Tweezy G74, alias Tweezy, alias, and Edward Wilson, alias, and Marquis Dexter Ellis, on or about the 5th day of April, 2024, in Knox County, Tennessee, and before the finding of this presentment, did unlawfully, intentionally, and with premeditation attempt to kill DeAndre Thaxton, causing serious bodily injury, in violation of TCA Section 39-12-101 and 39-13-202, and against the peace and dignity of the state of Tennessee. 14th count. The grand jurors for the state of Tennessee, upon their oaths, present that Latwan D. Osborne, alias Latwan DeWright Osborne, alias Tweezy G74, alias Tweezy, alias, and Edward Wilson, alias, and Marquis Dexter Ellis, on or about the 5th day of April, 2024, in Knox County, Tennessee, and before the finding of this presentment, did unlawfully and intentionally employ a firearm during the commission of a dangerous felony, specifically attempt to commit first-degree murder, as defined in TCA Section 39-12-101 and 39-13-202, in violation of TCA Section 39-17-1324, and against the peace and dignity of the state of Tennessee. 15th count. The grand jurors for the state of Tennessee, upon their oaths, present that Latwan D. Osborne, alias Latwan DeWright Osborne, alias Tweezy G74, alias Tweezy, alias, and Edward Wilson, alias, and Marquis Dexter Ellis, on or about the 5th day of April, 2024, in Knox County, Tennessee, and before the finding of this presentment, did unlawfully, intentionally, and with premeditation attempt to kill unborn baby Young, causing serious bodily injury, in violation of TCA Section 39-12-101 and 39-13-202, and against the peace and dignity of the state of Tennessee. 16th count. The grand jurors for the state of Tennessee, upon their oaths, present that Latwan D. Osborne, alias Latwan DeWright Osborne, alias Tweezy G74, alias Tweezy, alias, and Edward Wilson, alias, and Marquis Dexter Ellis, on or about the 5th day of April, 2024, in Knox County, Tennessee, and before the finding of this presentment, did unlawfully and intentionally employ a firearm during the commission of a dangerous felony, specifically attempt to commit first-degree murder, as defined in TCA Section 39-12-101 and 39-13-202, in violation of TCA Section 39-17-1324, and against the peace and dignity of the state of Tennessee. 17th count. The grand jurors for the state of Tennessee, upon their oaths, present that Latwan D. Osborne, alias Latwan DeWright Osborne, alias Tweezy G74, alias Tweezy, alias, and Edward Wilson, alias, and Marquis Dexter Ellis, on or about the 5th day of April 2024 in Knox County, Tennessee, and before the finding of this presentment, did unlawfully and knowingly remove or confine the victim, Danishka Mejia, so as to interfere substantially with the victim's liberty, and the victim suffered serious bodily injury in violation of TCA Section 39-13-305 and against the peace and dignity of the state of Tennessee. 18th count. The grand jurors for the state of Tennessee, upon their oaths, present that Latwan D. Osborne, alias Latwan DeWright Osborne, alias Tweezy G74, alias Tweezy, alias, and Edward Wilson, alias, and Marquis Dexter Ellis, on or about the 5th day of April 2024 in Knox County, Tennessee, and before the finding of this presentment, did unlawfully and knowingly remove or confine the victim, Katia Young, so as to interfere substantially with the victim's liberty, and the victim suffered serious bodily injury in violation of TCA Section 39-13-305 and against the peace and dignity of the state of Tennessee. 19th count. The grand jurors for the state of Tennessee, upon their oaths, present that Latwan D. Osborne, alias Latwan DeWright Osborne, alias Tweezy G74, alias Tweezy, alias, and Edward Wilson, alias, and Marquis Dexter Ellis, on or about the 5th day of April 2024 in Knox County, Tennessee, and before the finding of this presentment, did unlawfully and knowingly remove or confine the victim, DeAndre Thaxton, so as to interfere substantially with the victim's liberty, and the victim suffered serious bodily injury in violation of TCA Section 39-13-305 and against the peace and dignity of the state of Tennessee. 20th count. The grand jurors for the state of Tennessee, upon their oaths, present that Latwan D. Osborne, alias Latwan DeWright Osborne, alias Tweezy G74, alias Tweezy, alias, and Edward Wilson, alias, and Marquis Dexter Ellis, on or about the 5th day of April 2024 in Knox County, Tennessee, and before the finding of this presentment, did unlawfully, knowingly by violence, take from the person of Katia Young personal property, where Katia Young suffered serious bodily injury, said taking accomplished with a deadly weapon in violation of TCA Section 39-13-403 and against the peace and dignity of the state of Tennessee. 21st count. The grand jurors for the state of Tennessee, upon their oaths, present that Latwan D. Osborne, alias Latwan DeWright Osborne, alias Tweezy G74, alias Tweezy, alias, and Edward Wilson, alias, and Marquis Dexter Ellis, on or about the 5th day of April 2024 in Knox County, Tennessee, and before the finding of this presentment, did unlawfully and knowingly deliver a Schedule II controlled substance, to wit, fentanyl, in an amount less than 15 grams, in violation of TCA Section 39-17-417 and against the peace and dignity of the state of Tennessee. 22nd count. The grand jurors for the state of Tennessee, upon their oaths, present that Latwan D. Osborne, alias Latwan DeWright Osborne, alias Tweezy G74, alias Tweezy, alias, and Edward Wilson, alias, and Marquis Dexter Ellis, on or about the 5th day of April 2024 in Knox County, Tennessee, and before the finding of this presentment, did unlawfully and intentionally employ a firearm during the commission of a dangerous felony, to wit, a felony involving the distribution of a controlled substance as defined by Tennessee Code Annotated Title 39, Chapter 17, Part 4, in violation of TCA Section 39-17-1324 and against the peace and dignity of the state of Tennessee. 23rd count. The grand jurors for the state of Tennessee, upon their oaths, present that Latwan D. Osborne, alias Latwan DeWright Osborne, alias Tweezy G74, alias Tweezy, alias, and Edward Wilson, alias, and Marquis Dexter Ellis, on or about the 5th day of April 2024 in Knox County, Tennessee, and before the finding of this presentment, did unlawfully, knowingly by violence, take from the person of Danishka Mejia personal property where Danishka Mejia suffered serious bodily injury, said taking accomplished with a deadly weapon in violation of TCA Section 39-13-403 and against the peace and dignity of the state of Tennessee. 24th count. The grand jurors for the state of Tennessee, upon their oaths, present that Latwan D. Osborne, alias Latwan DeWright Osborne, alias Tweezy G74, alias Tweezy, alias, and Edward Wilson, alias, and Marquis Dexter Ellis, on or about the 5th day of April 2024 in Knox County, Tennessee, and before the finding of this presentment, did unlawfully and knowingly damage by means of a fire or explosion the personal property, land, or property other than buildings or structures of Danishka Mejia without the consent of all persons having a possessory or proprietary interest in that property or land, in violation of TCA Section 39-14-303 and against the peace and dignity of the state of Tennessee. 25th count. The grand jurors for the state of Tennessee, upon their oaths, present that Latwan D. Osborne, alias Latwan DeWright Osborne, alias Tweezy G74, alias Tweezy, alias, and Edward Wilson, alias, and Marquis Dexter Ellis, on or about the 5th day of April, 2024, in Knox County, Tennessee, and before the finding of this presentment, did unlawfully and knowingly damage, by means of a fire or explosion, the personal property, land, or property other than buildings or structures of Danishka Mejia with intent to destroy or damage that property or land for any unlawful purpose, in violation of TCA Section 39-14-303 and against the peace and dignity of the state of Tennessee. 26th count. The grand jurors for the state of Tennessee, upon their oaths, present that Latwan D. Osborne, alias Latwan DeWright Osborne, alias Tweezy G74, alias Tweezy, alias, and Edward Wilson, alias, and Angela Greenberg, alias, and Marquis Dexter Ellis, alias, on or about the 5th day of April, 2024, in Knox County, Tennessee, and before the finding of this presentment, knowing that an investigation or official proceeding was pending or in progress, Latwan D. Osborne, alias Latwan DeWright Osborne, alias Tweezy G74, alias Tweezy, alias, and Edward Wilson, alias, and Angela Greenberg, alias, and Marquis Dexter Ellis, did unlawfully alter, destroy, or conceal a record, document, or thing with the intent to impair the verity, legibility, or availability of the record, document, or thing as evidence in an investigation or official proceeding in violation of TCA Section 39-16-503 and against the peace and dignity of the state of Tennessee. Signed, District Attorney General Sharm P. Allen.
Thank you, General. Mr. Harper, how does Mr. Ellis plead in counts 1 through 26?
Please not guilty, Judge.
All right, very well done. Folks, if you don't mind approach for just a minute. All right, so folks, the next phase of the trial is going to be the opening statements. Again, opening statements are not proof, but they're very helpful roadmaps that give you an idea of what each side's proof will support in their case. So with that being said, the state bears the burden of proof. They get to present their opening statement first. So, General, you're recognized.
I have the screen, please.
You had it.
We had it for a second.
I think your plugs kind of went out there. It looks like it's there we go.
You are going to hear a lot of evidence in this case. We are going to be here for at least a week, presenting multiple witnesses to to show you what happened. Witnesses are going to come in the form of surviving victims, eyewitnesses accounting for what they saw, what they experienced. You're going to hear from law enforcement. You're going to hear from experts. All of these pieces of the puzzle don't come to you at once. So this is our opportunity to kind of forecast for you what we intend to prove through these witnesses and the evidence that we're going to show you. So it's important as we go along in this trial, because this is not a one-day, one or two witness case. This is a multiple day, multiple witness. You may not always know, let's say we start with witness 1, why the questions we're asking them are important until you've heard all of the other evidence in the case, okay? So please listen carefully, pay attention to what these witnesses are saying, because everything they're asked is important to your decision as a juror. I want to start by going over the timeline of events in this case. As you've heard already, these crimes occurred back on April 5th of 2024, but they didn't necessarily start there. They really started back on April 2nd. That is the morning that Danishka Mejia went to UT Hospital reporting that she suspected she had been sexually assaulted just hours prior the night before. A few days later, on the 4th, she officially made a report to law enforcement, where she met with Detective Grantham from the Knoxville Police Department. In Tennessee, a victim of a sexual assault or rape is allowed to initially go to the hospital, have a rape kit collected, have it be treated and seen by a nurse, without having to decide initially whether or not they want to involve law enforcement. So in this case, you're going to hear that's what happened. There was that initial reporting to the hospital pretty immediately. A couple of days later, the report to law enforcement is made on the 4th. And then what you're going to hear is really just hours after Ms. Mejia was reporting a sexual assault to Knoxville Police Department. Her home is invaded in the early morning hours of April 5th. She is murdered, and her 2 roommates are almost killed. So what happened inside her home on Gilbert Lane? What you're going to hear and know about what happened inside this home is going to come from a few sources. It's going to come from Katia Young predominantly. And what she's going to tell you, you see her here on the far left of the screen, and her boyfriend at the time, DeAndre Thaxton, is at the far right. And in the middle there, we of course have Miss Sabaha Mejia, who was left dead inside the home. What Miss Young is going to tell you is that she was a roommate of Miss Mejia at the time at the home on Gilbert. That her boyfriend was staying there at the time, that they were kind of making preparations for bedtime, had taken showers, and suddenly she's hearing glass break. And the next thing she knows, 3 masked men are invading her home with guns and starting to tell Danishka herself and her boyfriend DeAndre what to do. They take property from them. They take all of their cell phones at gunpoint. She's going to talk about how they rifled through Miss Mejia's purse, taking items of personal property, cash, and other belongings. That 2 of these men initially order her and Mr. Thaxton down in the basement, down the steps, where they're held captive for a significant period of time, a couple of hours this whole incident takes place. And once they're down in the basement, they're kept there at gunpoint while all of the other events unfold. And what you're going to hear is that the basement to join them. That when Miss Mejia was forced down there, that they watched her be threatened. She was given an ultimatum. Danishka, you shoot and kill your 2 roommates, or you're going to have to snort these narcotics, these drugs that these guys brought into the home. She begs and pleads, no, I don't want to do this. And she makes the decision, I'm not going to hurt anybody else. So at gunpoint, under threat of violence to herself and her roommates, drugs are brought out, a straw is cut up, and she is forced to snort a substance she has no experience with. A white powdery substance, she has no clue exactly what it is. She's forced to continue to snort, and continue to snort, and continue to snort, until it can no longer go up her nose. She loses consciousness and falls to the floor. But it doesn't stop there. What you're going to hear is that she's not clearly dead yet. And the men who invaded her home didn't like that fact. So they wanted to make sure she died. So to do that, one of the men placed a bag over her head and zip-tied it shut. Left it there for a time, and then cut it open to see if she was still breathing. At that point, Miss Mejia was still alive, because as soon as that bag was cut off, you're going to hear she took a gasping breath. So, wanting her to die, more drugs while she is unconscious, on the floor, vulnerable, are forcefully poured into her mouth. And then a water bottle is taken to wash that down, to force more drugs into her system, to force her death to occur. And what you're going to hear is that that process took maybe about 3 minutes for her to finally completely lose her life, to succumb to the drugs that were forced onto her. And all of this occurred in the presence of DeAndre Thaxton and Katia Young while they're being held at gunpoint. It doesn't stop there, though. Once Miss Mejia loses her life, these guys turn on DeAndre, they turn on Katia with their guns, and they start firing. And what you're going to hear at the time is it's really actually not just Katia there and DeAndre, because Katia is about 8 months pregnant at the time. She's expecting her second child. And what you're going to hear is that multiple shots are fired in this basement. What you're going to see is that these shots do hit our victims, do hit our surviving victims. DeAndre Thaxton is taken to UT Medical Center that night, where he's seen for a gunshot wound to his left shoulder and his right neck. You're also going to see the injuries caused to Miss Katia Young. You'll see her medical records as well. You're going to see she had 3 distinct wounds on her arm, her wrist, and her hand. The wound to her wrist nearly shattered all the bones. They had to be surgically rebuilt. She has permanent, significant scars to that area. What you're going to hear about Danishka is proof of her cause of death in this case. And what you're going to hear from a medical examiner who examined her body and blood after the fact is that she died as a result of a mixed drug toxicity, of drugs that were forced on her at gunpoint. going to hear some proof about what happened after this home invasion, after this murder and attempted murders.
4:16. Knox County 911, what is the location of your emergency? I'm just at 1531 Mississippi Avenue, and I was approached by through multiple calls, and it looks like somebody has set a car on fire over here at this track. I heard a loud boom, and my dogs were going crazy, and I just heard them.
What you're going to hear proof of is that that car pictured there that was the subject of that 911 call was the car driven by Ms. Mejia, the car that was parked outside her home the night that she was murdered. The car that was taken by the men who committed these heinous crimes after they were done. They didn't just take the car and get away in it. They took it, they parked it, and they torched it. But who is responsible for these crimes? So far, you've not heard the names. You've heard about the three masked men. But who are they? How do we know who they are? Well, there on the left there, that's Latwan Osborne. That's the man, Ms. Mejia, accused of raping her. In the middle there, you've got our defendant, Marquis Ellis. And on the far right, Edward Wilson. So how do we know each of these men are connected? Well, the police pretty quickly start to piece together that Latwan Osborne is a likely suspect. They become quickly aware, the night of April 5th, that Ms. Mejia was connected to him because of her previous report to law enforcement regarding him. So he becomes a prime suspect very quickly. But he also becomes a suspect quickly because he got hit by friendly fire in that basement. When shots are going off concrete walls, he got struck, he got grazed, he got injured, and he went to the hospital. He also called 911. So police start to put together, Mr. Osborne is very likely one of the people involved in this crime. And so they start to try to look for connections to prove that he's responsible. And one of the things they look into is that they know him to drive a BMW, but they can't find his BMW parked outside of his house anymore, because they go to his house, they search it. So it becomes very important to their investigation to figure out where is this car, because it might have some evidence. And they pretty quickly, through their investigation, find the car located at a car sale lot, Empire Motors, Clinton Highway in Knoxville. They seize the car, they get a search warrant, and they search it. And they literally find a trunk load of evidence connected to this case within that trunk. Things like 3 dark ski masks, the type that are described to have been worn by the suspects in this case. Red bandanas consistent with other descriptions of what they were wearing. You're also going to see within that car are drugs that are seized, powdered, other forms of narcotics that end up getting tested. And they come back to be a lot of the same substances we see in Ms. Mejia's autopsy. They also find multiple guns and shell casings within that car. Guns that match the descriptions given by our surviving victims. But an important piece of evidence that helps lead them to their second suspect is what you see right there, are some zip ties. Zip ties that were used in these crimes, zip ties that were left at the scene, also zip ties that correspond to the search of the BMW. And police have the ability sometimes, if you have like a code, a UPC code, they can look up and see where certain items may have been sold or when they were sold. And they did that in this case. And they tracked down video evidence from a Walmart here in town. And what they found was some video of those zip ties being purchased. And so they had an image of a suspect. That suspect was identified as Edward Wilson, our second defendant. At that point, Edward Wilson became a person of interest. He is brought into the police station. He is questioned. As a result of that, the police then had an idea of who their third suspect might be, Mr. Marquis Ellis. So similar to Mr. Wilson, at that point in their investigation, the police made an effort to then find Mr. Ellis. This is now several days later, but they find him, and they bring him to the police department, and they question him. And what you're going to see is that during his interview, he admits to several things. First, he admits it was him. He was there. He was part of this home invasion. That he went with Osborne, and he went with Wilson, and he broke into this home. He admits that while he's in the home, he helped by keeping the residents of that home at gunpoint while he watched his co-defendant Osborne carry out the forced murder of Danishka Mejia. He admits that he did this by carrying a double-drum magazine rifle and firing that rifle within the basement. And he admits that they fled in Ms. Mejia's car after the fact and that they torched it. These are all things Mr. Ellis has admitted to. But that's not where it ends. The police make efforts to corroborate what they're hearing from their surviving victims and what they've been told by Mr. Ellis. So what out there corroborates Mr. Ellis's confession? Well, what you're going to hear is that DNA swabs are taken of multiple items of evidence. Mr. Ellis's DNA is not on every piece of evidence, but it is on some pieces that help corroborate that he did what he said he did. His DNA comes back to one of the guns that are found in the BMW. And his DNA is found on an ammonia bottle that is located at LaTwan Osborne's home. And why is that important? It's important because you're going to hear from Mr. Ellis himself in his interview that the ammonia was purchased for cleanup after the fact. And that he was told and did use ammonia to wash his hands after they had returned to Mr. Osborne's house after the fact. And this corroborates that detail that he shared with police, that his DNA is left on that ammonia bottle. Also there pictured in the middle, that double drum firearm. That's the type of firearm Ms. Young is going to tell you she saw Mr. Ellis in possession of. And it's also the type of firearm he admits to carrying. Well, you're going to hear from a firearms expert, someone who is given the firearms located in the BMW, and who is also given things like shell casings collected at the crime scene from the basement, projectiles, fragments of projectiles. That she did comparison work, analyzed those things. And it's her opinion that that double drum magazine fired multiple of the shell casings that were left in the basement. in mind what we've talked about in jury selection. At the end of this, I'm going to ask you to hold Mr. Ellis accountable for every action he directly took, every crime he's directly responsible for, but also every crime of his co-defendants that you hear proof of that he aided and abetted. If you're convinced at the end of this trial that he is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, we are going to ask you to find him guilty and hold him accountable. Thank you.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Mr. Harper, you're recognized for your opening statement, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is an opportunity to lay out sort of a roadmap as to how this case is going to go, and I completely agree with the state. It's going to be long. Each witness in and of themselves will not tell you the whole picture, so I'm going to implore you to hold back, making any decisions in your mind, even whatever slight you think you might be doing so, in an effort to get the entirety of the case in front of you before you make a decision on this case. The state has told you a lot about what they think this case is about. There's going to be a lot of filling in the holes in that case that the state has laid out. They're not necessarily holes per se, but they are facts that maybe tend to not help the state quite as much. Mr. Osborne, as you've heard, was the person that was complained upon previously. Mr. Osborne is a 39-year-old man in 2024. Mr. Ellis is 20 at the time. He's barely out of high school. He doesn't even have a driver's license. Listen to the statement that Mr. Ellis makes. Well, why did he go there? How did these old guys get you to go do this thing? Listen to what Mr. Ellis says. We talk about backing it up. That's exactly the things that he says. You know, the state wants you to say, yeah, he said he had the gun that had a drum on it, therefore he's telling you the truth. Well, listen to everything else he says. He's telling the truth about things that are damning to him. He's telling the truth about the other things as well. He's telling you the things that maybe he doesn't know that was not the right thing to admit to. Everything he's telling the truth in that statement. You'll see that at the end of it, he voluntarily gives them a swab of DNA. That's how we get to talking about this DNA. He didn't say, you know, get a warrant. You know, he's 20 years old. He probably doesn't know the words, get a warrant. So, you know, listen. It's going to be long. It's going to be piecemeal until you have a final picture. But you are the exclusive judges of the facts in this case. So you're it. You're the ones that have to make the decision about what happened, why it happened, what really happened, those types of things. So pay attention, because when the facts are all in and the judge instructs you on the law, he's going to instruct you on some lesser included offenses. Everything that the state stood here and read this afternoon about what they charged Mr. Ellis with are the charges that he is facing. Each and every one of those will have a lesser included offense. The judge will tell you how to go about your consideration. You have to do certain things to get to a lesser included offense. Certainly, what I would be telling you whenever we wrap this case up is consider the lesser included offenses. I'm not going to walk in here Monday or Tuesday of next week and tell you Mr. Ellis is not guilty of anything, he wasn't there, or anything like that. I'm going to ask you to consider the evidence that came in through the witness stand, apply that to the wall, and I'm going to ask you to consider a lesser included offense for Mr. Ellis. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harper. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is opening statements. The next phase of the trial is going to be the state's case in chief, again, because they bear the burden of proof, they get to present their case first. So with that being said, General, you can call your first witness.
State calls Michael Mays.
Folks, also, you may see me on this computer. I assure you I'm working on jury instructions. Welcome, Mr. Mays. Please raise your right hand and be sworn. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony about to give in this trial will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Your Honor, may I proceed?
You may.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Please introduce yourself to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Hello, my name is Michael Allen Mays.
And what do you do for work?
I work for the Knox County Emergency Communications District, 911.
And what is your specific assignment with Knox County 911?
I'm the custodian of records.
And how long have you held that current position?
The current position, 20 years.
Okay. Are emergency calls placed to the 911 system in Knox County routinely recorded?
Yes,
Is part of your job as custodian of records to produce those recordings when requested?
yes,
And were you requested to provide audio recordings of calls placed to 911 related to a shooting that occurred in the area of 3206 Gilbert Lane on April 5th, 2024, around 1:15 in the morning?
yes,
Were you able to locate any calls that matched that search?
yes, I did.
If I could play a portion of a call to see if you recognize it?
Yes.
If I could have a screenshot, please.
April 5, 2024, 1:15:35.
So we just heard the beginning of that call. Is this the call, one of the calls that you pulled?
Yes,
For-
it's not timestamped.
And is that a true and accurate copy of the call that 911 call center received?
Yes,
Your Honor, I'd seek to admit this as exhibit number 1 and publish.
Any objections, Mr. Hurd? All right, without objection, that'll be received as exhibit 1. You may publish.
Thank you.
Where's your emergency? Hey, I'm at 2242 Park Avenue. Okay, what's going on there? She's shot. I'm sorry. Okay, what's going on there? My neighbor across the street, she's been shot. She's pregnant.
You know, did it just happen?
I have no idea. I really just woke up because I got a knock on my door. And she had me to call the police.
Okay, you know where she's been shot at?
Oh, let me go around here real fast.
I didn't know the
Hey
line.
girl, where have you been shot at? She's been shot in the hand.
Okay.
I thought you were home.
Okay, hold on, be
Hey, hush.
okay? Is there
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you 1 second.
Okay.
Do you have any other towels, Mama, besides Lucas? Hey girl, they want to speak to you. Please just tell me. She's making me just call me.
They're on their way, but I need to get some questions. When did this happen and who done that? How did this happen?
Do you want to know? No, please. I'm sorry, I'm not getting any information.
Okay, do you know her name?
I don't. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know her information. Tia.
Okay. All right.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay, it's not your fault. The little lady, what's her name?
My name's Krishana Carter. Okay.
Is she still bleeding?
Oh, yeah, she's on court.
Okay.
And it is something similar to this.
All right, so we do have them on the way, please, and the ambulance bus and round, okay, the fire department.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I can go ahead and let you go, okay, they'll do that very shortly, okay?
All right, thanks.
All right, thank you.
April 5, 2024, 1:18:21.
Were you also requested to provide an audio recording of an additional call that was placed around 1:19 a.m. on that same day by an individual identifying themselves as Latwan Osborne?
Yes.
Were you able to locate any calls that matched that search?
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm going to play a portion of what I'm marking as Exhibit 2 to see if you recognize it, sir, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
April 5, 2024, 1:19:18.
I've been dead.
Where are you at, sir?
Okay. Based on what you heard, is that a true and accurate copy of the 911 call placed at 1:19 a.m.?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, I'd seek to admit as Exhibit 2 and publish.
Any objections, Mr. Harmon? All right, that will be received as Exhibit 2. You may publish.
Thank you.
Trying to get to the hospital. I'm gonna take the I'm gonna turn on the interstate, and go on UT1.
If you need me to get you some time, I need you to stop.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna see you.
I need to stop. Look, my whole thing going on. Like everything going on.
What kind of vehicle are you in?
I'm in a red, what is this? I'm in a red Cadillac XRS. I'm just now turning on the street on I-40 West. I'm turning on I-40 West from Church
Street? Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Do you know who did this?
I said, what?
Do you know who did it?
No, I don't know that. Just people, like,
Okay,
Sir,
reach out at.
I'm setting my back. I was running. People started shooting, I ran.
Okay. Is that which hospital you went to?
I'm in to UT Hospital.
What is your name, sir?
Latwan.
Latwan?
T-A-W-I-N-E. Osborne, like Ali Osborne.
I'm showing a phone number for you, 214-1652.
This is my phone, this is using it. My phone is somewhere in the project. I dropped it when I was running. And then just start running. It's not my phone, I ain't got nothing to do with my first phone.
Did you get a look at the person that did this?
No, I don't know. I was in the project. They started shooting them.
Are you there in the vehicle by yourself?
No, I got my friend driving me. Going up, sir. My hands is going up, sir. My hands is going up. I'm getting dizzy.
I understand we're trying to get them out there to help you out, okay? Just confirm you said you're going to UT Medical Center.
Yeah. I'm about to pass I'm passing like the Lexington exit north. I'm heading to the 13th Street exit on Western Avenue exit. Exit 387.
Okay, I'm about 387, you're gonna get onto Alcoa Highway?
Yes, I'm going like after highway, they're coming out. Speed up, G. You got I'm shot. Speed up, fuck that shit. Speed up. Shit.
Okay, they are trying.
I'm about to go back to the Smoky Mountain exit now. I'm about to get off.
Just
was it a red Cadillac SRS? Is that a car or an SUV?
Yes. It's an SUV. It's an SUV.
And is that the run off Cherry Street? I feel like the Magnolia area?
Yeah, I'm passing the 7th Avenue exit after I went smoking my exit 229. I'm getting going that way now.
Okay.
Yes.
Let me know when you're coming to the hospital if you can, okay? We're trying to get some in contact with you, get some help, okay? As well.
I'm passing the Kingston Pike exit going to a strip now.
Okay.
April 5, 2024, 1:23:45.
Were you also requested to provide audio recordings of a call placed later on around 2:24 a.m. regarding a fire near the location of Knoxville College?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you able to locate any calls that matched that search?
Yes.
I'm going to mark this as 3 and play a brief portion of it for you to see if you recognize it, sir.
2024, 2:24, 16.
Knox County 911, what is the location of your emergency?
Does that appear to be a true and accurate copy of the call placed at that date and time?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Your Honor, I'd seek to admit this as Exhibit 3 and publish.
Any objection, Mr. Arnott? All right, without objection, that will be received as Exhibit 3.
And may I publish, Your Honor?
You may.
Thank you.
At 1531 Mississippi Avenue, and I'm across from Knoxville College, and it looks like somebody has set that car on fire over here at this track. I heard a loud boom, and my dogs were going crazy, and everything on fire. It's on the back side of Knoxville College, where Mississippi Avenue is. They have blocked it off where cars can't drive through anymore, but there's still there in that field that's on fire. And I'm sorry, I'm here by myself, but my.
Okay, where do you live?
But I'm not going outside. Mississippi Avenue, 1531 Mississippi Avenue. What's near Avenue?
Okay, you're just able to see the flames, you're not able to tell what's on fire?
No, ma'am, I it's big. But it's a real loud, boom. That's what woke me up.
Just one moment.
Okay.
Now, have you seen any people or hear anybody or anything other than the loud boom sound?
No, ma'am. Unfortunately, me and my son were in bed, and my dogs were like growling and walking around and trying to get up like I told them, so I guess they heard something. But yeah, no, it's, I can't see, if I went here by myself, I'd go outside and look.
Okay. And can I get your things just for documentation purposes?
Yes, ma'am, it's Mandy.
All right, I'll put it.
And also like it.
Okay. I'll go ahead and I'll go that sent over to officers and our fire department, okay? They should be there shortly. If you do see it start to spread or the flames to get larger, just give us a call back at 911.
Okay, then, thank you so much.
April 5, 2024 to 26:58.
All right, I have no further questions for you, but Mr. Harper might.
Thank you, gentlemen. Mr. Harper, you're recognized for cross-examination, sir.
I don't have any questions.
All right, just waiting to step down, sir. Thank you. General, if you would call your next witness.
We call Faith Yoakum.
Ms. Yoakum, if you raise your right hand and be sworn, you solemnly swear or affirm testimony about this trial will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes, sir. All right, please.
Ms. Yoakum, will you start by telling us your name and then spelling it for our court reporter?
My name is Faith Yoakum, first name Faith, last name Yoakum, Yoakum.
And Ms. Yoakum, how old are you?
I'm 22 years old.
22. And are you currently a resident of Knoxville or Knox County?
No, no,
Where are you visiting us from today?
Texas.
Okay. Were you familiar with the victim of homicide in this case, Danishka Mejia?
Yes, ma'am.
How did you know Miss Mejia?
She was my roommate. The house was our house that we lived in. That's what happened to her.
Okay. Over what period of time did you and Miss Mejia live together?
I'm going to say about a couple of months. We moved in around December of 2023, I believe.
Do you remember the exact address?
No, ma'am.
Does a home off of Gilbert Lane sound familiar?
Yes, ma'am.
What part of town is that in?
South Knoxville.
Okay. And did you and Miss Mejia live at that home in April of 2024?
Yes, ma'am.
Was it just the two of you living at the home, or were there other folks?
There was one more woman living with us,
Who was your third roommate?
Tia.
What, do you know Miss Tia's full name?
No, ma'am.
Were you familiar with a man by the name of Elijah Young?
Yes, ma'am.
How did you know Elijah Young?
Elijah was someone known throughout Knoxville, and we would just kind of like a hookup situation here and there whenever he was in town.
Okay. So if I understand you correctly, he's somebody you would occasionally hook up with.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know him back in April of 2024?
Yes, ma'am.
Was Danishka, Miss Mejia, was she introduced to anyone through you and your relationship to Elijah Young?
Elijah introduced her to his uncle, Osborne.
Okay. Is that Latwan Osborne? So Mr. Young has an uncle by the name of Latwan Osborne,
Yes, ma'am.
who he introduced to Miss Mejia.
Yes, ma'am.
Did he introduce Mr. Osborne and Miss Young that spring of 2024 or at another point in time?
Miss Young, Tia?
No, I'm sorry, Miss Mejia.
He introduced her, I want to say maybe 2 months before
Okay.
April.
So that would put us in February of 2024 that Miss Mejia and Mr. Osborne are introduced to each other through Mr. Young.
Yes, ma'am, around that time.
Okay. And did you ever spend time with Miss Mejia at the same time that she was spending time with Mr. Osborne?
Yes, I was still with her.
Okay. On how many occasions were you guys hanging out as a group together?
Maybe once a week, twice a week.
Over about a 2-month period of time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And how would you describe the relationship between Miss Mejia and Mr. Osborne over those 2 months?
I wouldn't call it a relationship, just hanging out. They never claimed to be boyfriend or girlfriend or anything like that.
It appeared to be a friendly situation,
Just
though.
a friendly, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you become aware that the nature of that friendly relationship changed at some point in time?
The morning I got a call that she asked me to take her to the hospital.
Okay. When you said you got a call from her, are you talking about Miss Mejia?
Miss Mejia, yes, ma'am.
Where were you at the time that you received this phone call?
I was working at UT Hospital. I was just getting off my shift at 7 in the morning.
Was this the same week that Miss Mejia lost her life?
Yes, ma'am.
Just earlier that week?
It was 2 days after she called me to go to the hospital, 2 or 3 days after.
Okay. Well, let's talk about Miss Mejia's demeanor on this phone call. Could you tell at all what kind of emotional state she was in at the time of the phone call?
Crying,
Okay.
distress,
And what was she calling about at that time?
asking me to take her to go get a rape kit done at UT Medical Center.
At that time, did you assist Miss Mejia in going to the hospital to have a rape kit?
Yes, ma'am.
What hospital did you go to, if you remember?
UT Medical Center where I work.
Okay. I want to move forward a couple of days forward. On April 4th of 2024, were you at home that day?
April 4th?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. That morning I was, and then I had to go to work later on that day.
Okay. Let's talk about the events of the daytime of April 4th. Did you have any contact with either Elijah Young or Mr. Osborne during the day that day?
Elijah Young,
And how did you come in contact with Mr. Young?
he showed up at the house and knocked on the door and was telling me goodbye before he went back to college.
Okay. And did he come inside the home?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you guys, have a conversation or spend time together?
Just, he was telling me goodbye and then he left.
Okay, so a brief goodbye and he was gone.
Yes, ma'am.
Had Mr. Young been to your home prior to that date?
Yes, ma'am.
How about Mr. Osborne? Had he ever been to your home on Gilbert Lane before?
Maybe once or twice.
Okay. Were you aware of Elijah Young taking any photographs of your home or the area around your home during his visit to you that daytime of April 4th of 2024?
No, ma'am, not at all.
You've mentioned that you left for work at some point that day. Do you know around what time you left to go to work?
I was either scheduled to come in at 6 or 7, or asked to come in at 6 or 7. I did 12-hour shifts overnight.
What line of work were you in at the time?
I was a patient transporter.
Okay, and that was for UT Hospital?
Yes, ma'am.
And as a patient transporter, are you required to wear latex or hospital gloves of some sort?
Yes, ma'am. Every time we enter into a patient's room, we're required to have them on.
Okay. And your shift would have been starting around 6 or 7.
Yes, ma'am.
So would that have you leaving the home somewhere between 5 and 6 p.m.?
Maybe 20 minutes before my shift.
Okay. When you left your home that day, who was at the home at the time that you left?
And then me and Danishka.
Okay. Miss Young, Miss Tia Young, was she present at that time?
I cannot remember.
Okay. Were you aware of Danishka going anywhere earlier that day?
Yes, ma'am. I don't remember where though.
Okay. Going back to your wearing gloves, did the gloves that you used on the job, did they ever end up back at your house with you?
Yes, ma'am.
So it was common for you to put them in pockets and things like that?
Things like gloves or saran wrap, little things like from the hospital, from syringes and all sorts of things.
Okay. And while at the house, did you ever have a reason or an occasion to use something like latex gloves while in the home?
We've used them one time to dye hair,
Okay.
not get our hands tied.
And did you give a swab of DNA during the investigation of this case?
I'm pretty sure I did.
And so would it surprise you if your DNA ended up on a latex glove that was found in the home?
Not at all.
How did you become aware of what had happened in your home the night that you were at work from April 4th into April 5th of 2024?
I got a call around 2 or 3 in the morning from my neighbors telling me that I need to come home and that something had happened.
And did you pretty much immediately return home?
Yes, ma'am.
Once you were home, did you meet with police investigators
Yes, ma'am.
and share with them, any information you had that might help further their investigation?
They didn't ask me much, but I told them I had a clue what had happened or who had done it.
And what direction did you point them in initially?
I just said his name,
And whose name was that?
Osborne.
Okay. And that was due to what Ms. Mejia had told you about the rape earlier in the week?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, the defendant on trial in the case today is Mr. Marquis Ellis. To be clear, do you know Mr. Ellis?
No, ma'am.
May I have just a second?
Sure.
Pass the witness.
All right, cross-examination, Mr. Huffman.
Just briefly, Judge. Ms. Yocum, you indicated at UT you are, I wrote it down here somewhere, you were patient transport?
Yes, sir.
Is that like from one unit to another inside the hospital, or do you transport to other facilities, like rehab facilities or something?
No, it's all in the hospital.
Okay, just moving people from one floor to the other, or one bed to another kind of situation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so you knew this fellow by the name of Elijah Young,
Yes, sir.
and your testimony was that he's known throughout Knoxville. What is that?
For football.
Okay, so he's a football person.
Yes, sir.
Is he roughly your age?
I don't know his age.
Well, he came to see you on the 4th, and he was going back to school. Would that be his college?
College.
Okay. So you're 22 now, so you were 20 in 2024?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so you had known Mr. Young how long? I'm sorry, I missed that portion.
I've known about him maybe a year, but only was around him maybe for a couple of months.
Okay. And so that would have been the couple of months you were around him, similar in time to the time that you were living over on Gilbert, maybe December, sometime around Christmas the year before, up until April of the following year?
Around December, maybe even January.
Okay. And basically, your testimony is that y'all would hang out once or twice a week?
When she asked when we all hung out, it was once or twice a week, so around that, yes.
Okay. So would you hang out with Mr. Young separately from?
Maybe 3 times, not 3 times a week, just whenever he was in town from college on break.
Would he stay at your place over there on Gilbert?
Sometimes,
Okay. Mr. Osborne ever stay over there to your knowledge?
he's been over there before staying, I do not know that.
That's all I have, Judge.
Very well, any redirect him?
No.
All right, we may step down from the bench.
For a comfort break at this time?
Sure, absolutely. All right, folks, so why don't we stay in recess for about 10 minutes or so? Again, don't discuss this case amongst yourselves, but that in mind, we'll see you back in about 10 minutes. folks, let's take a recess for about 10 minutes. We'll come back then.
This is so uncalled for, I'm sorry. I mean, it makes sense at all. And see, I'm a real kid, so I had to come down when all that happened. She was in the hospital about 30 days.
Yeah, see her, where you at? Kathy, is that 1 and 2, or is that a 1 on the 911 calls? No, the 2 that have already been put in, are they number 1 and number 2? Oh, there are 3, okay. I didn't know if they were all on the same disc. Okay. So 1, 2, and 3 are all on 911.
Course back to session. You got me to see it both ways.
Judge, we will have an issue to bring to your attention, I guess, with the defendant's back.
Sure. All right, so we're back in the record. State Tennessee versus Marquis Ellis, 127449. Gentlemen?
Do we approach?
Yeah, this is your vote, Judge.
All right, would the media representative mind to approach for a moment, sir? All right, that's not a problem at all. We'll get that rectified. So, all right, folks, are we ready to bring the jury back in from the state's perspective?
Yes, Your Honor.
From the defense?
So, we need our, I guess, our people in here.
Is it really hot in here, or is it just me?
It's been fluctuating, Judge. It was hot, and then it got cold, and then it back to heading in the heat direction.
And my opinion is not better, but I'm finding it comfortable. Amarillo is not comfortable. That's what it was. Can you do that?
being announced, so the state ready to bring the jury back in? That's ready to go. All right, let's go ahead and bring the jury back. Folks, you may be seated. We stand out of respect for the job you're doing. So anytime you come and go, feel free to have a seat, okay? All right, everyone may be seated. Stay waiting to call. This is a defense waiver call. All right, so folks, when I say that phrase, this is a state waiver call, it's a defense waiver call. That just means if either side asks, I could essentially take attendance and make sure you're all back, but I think we can easily deduce that there are 15 of you back, okay? With that being said, gentlemen, you can call your next witness.
We'll call Ms. Tia Young.
Okay. All right, welcome, Ms. Young. If you raise your right hand, be sworn. You solemnly swear or affirm testimony you're about to give this trial will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help you God. All right, man, you have a seat.
Ms. Young, will you start by telling us your name?
My name is Katia Dunn. Everybody calls me Tia.
And can you spell your, excuse me, full name for our court reporter?
Katia.
And Young is the common spelling?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And how old are you, Ms. Young?
I turned 25 4 days ago.
And are you from Knoxville?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any children?
Yes, ma'am. 2.
Two. Can you tell us their names?
My first daughter, her name is Abriana, and my second daughter is Anala.
Anala. Let's talk for a second about Anala. What was her date of birth?
Her date of birth is 4/11/24.
Okay. I want to talk for a second about where you were living back in April of 2024. Where were you living at that time?
We were living, I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was Gilbert Lane.
Okay. Is that a home, a condo, apartment?
Yes, it's a home.
Okay. And who lived there at the home with you at that time?
It was me, Danishka, Faith, and my baby's father would come and go.
And your baby's father is, what's his name?
DeAndre.
DeAndre, last name Daxton?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So he would sometimes spend the night there with you.
Yes, ma'am.
And can you tell us what part of town that home is located in?
I'm South Knoxville, like off Severe Avenue.
Okay, in Knox County.
Yes, ma'am.
How well did you know your roommate Danishka Mejia?
Like the back of my hand.
Would you consider yourself close to Miss Mejia?
I consider her my soulmate.
Tell me if my math is correct, Miss Young. If you had your child Anala on April 11th of 2024, how far along were you in your pregnancy in early April of 2024?
My due date was May 5th, so I was 36 weeks when she was born.
Okay. Can you describe the layout of your home there on Gilbert Lane in any more detail? Is it a multi-level, single-level home?
It's a multi-level home. You would walk through the front door, and you're in the living room, and then you walk through another doorway, and now you're in the kitchen. If you turn to the right, it would be the hallway, and then first, looking straight ahead, first bedroom will be Danny's room. Then next to it, on the right would be, on the left, on the left would be Faith's room, my room, and across from my room is the bathroom. You turn back out this way, you're back in the kitchen, and if you're looking straight ahead, you'd be looking at the side door to go out. And then right there beside the side door is where you would go down to the basement.
Okay. So is it fair to say all the main rooms, the bedrooms, the kitchen, the bathroom are on a single level?
Correct. The only reason why we went downstairs for real is to like wash clothes.
Okay. So tell us about the basement in a little more detail. What did it really consist of?
The basement was a room full of like scraps, mainly from like the stuff the landlord had stored there, but basically just a whole bunch of scraps and washer, dryer, dirty clothes, old stuff that we wasn't using,
Okay.
junk.
Gotcha. Let's talk about the events of April 4th of 2024 leading into the early morning hours of April 5th. Were you home that night?
Yes.
Who else was at the home that evening?
On the 5th, on the 4th.
Yes, starting the night of the 4th.
Daddy was home when I got home, and then after I got home, the baby's father got there.
Okay. And you said Danny. Is that
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Is that a nickname you used for Miss Danishka Mejia?
Yes,
Okay. And then you said your baby's daddy was also there that night,
Yes.
DeAndre Thaxton?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you know where Faith Yoakum was that night, your other roommate?
Yes, ma'am, she was at work.
Okay. Now, some horrific things happened in your home that night. Do you remember the details of what occurred?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay. Can you tell us what happened? How did you first realize that this was not just going to be a normal evening where you go to bed and wake up the next morning?
Okay, from the beginning,
What's the first thing you noticed that told you something's amiss, something's
Okay.
not right?
when I woke up that morning, I was supposed to have, well, I did have a baby's doctor's appointment. I was supposed to go get checked or whatever. Danny was supposed to come with me. When I woke up, she was already gone. So I texted her and like, hey, where are you? And she was like, I already went to the police report or whatever. And I was mad at her because why would you go without me? We did everything together. Why would you go without me? So she was like, okay, do you want
Can I
me
pause you there for just a second? So you're talking about the daytime of April 4th
Yes,
at this
ma'am.
point, and you had a text conversation with Danny or Danishka,
Yes, ma'am.
and she was talking about going to the police station.
To report the assault, yes.
Okay. When you say assault, do you know what kind of assault she was there to report? Okay. And you were a little upset because you wanted to be there to support her?
Correct.
Okay.
We did everything together. When
Okay.
you saw her, you saw me. We're each other's shadow.
Sorry to interrupt you. Take us from there.
Okay. So, she asked, we was talking about her going by herself or whatever, and I was getting dressed. When I had, walked out of my room and went through the kitchen or whatever, remember the kitchen and the living room are right beside each other. I was in the kitchen and I could see like light coming through the kitchen or whatever. So I like looked around and Faith was standing at the door with the door open, and I'm like, what's wrong with you? Like, what are you doing? And she was like, oh, nothing, Elijah's here. So I said, oh. And I went to go text Danny, like, do not come here. And she had already texted me before I got checked. She was like, I'm done here. Do you want me to meet you at the hospital, or do you want me to just come to the house? And I'm like, no, Elijah's here, go to the hospital. She ended up texting Faith, said blah, 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 whatever.
Let me pause you there and ask a few clarifying questions. So you're at home, is this later in the afternoon of April 4th?
I had a pretty early doctor's appointment, so I'd say it was probably 11, 12, 1 o'clock.
So midday.
Yes,
And you're talking about an Elijah. You're talking about Elijah Young
yes,
being at the home,
Yes.
meeting with Faith.
yes, ma'am.
Okay. And that upset you.
Yes,
And it upset you to the point that you warned Danishka not to come home at that point.
correct.
Why was the presence of Mr. Young upsetting to you?
Because number one, that is the nephew of the person who just sexually assaulted my best friend. And it's like, okay, Faith's excuse for why it was okay to have him over there because Elijah's not the one that did it to her. That's not the way I thought in my head. This is my best friend. So, he broke her, he took a piece from her, and the way she acted after that is, it hurt me. It hurt me how bad she was hurt, number one. Number two, I didn't trust it. I didn't trust it at all because he's here in the daytime And he didn't stay for long. He came to say bye for school, and then a couple hours later, my best friend passed away. And math is not mathing.
I gotcha. So after Mr. Young left your home that day, did Danishka return to the house at some point?
Correct. After we met at the hospital to get my baby baby looked at. She went to drop someone off a phone charger, and I went to drop my stepdad off. We met back up at the house. I was supposed to go get my nails done because my baby shower was the next day. She was going to go with me, but the prior 3 days before this has happened, she hasn't been sleeping, she hasn't been eating because she's been so depressed. So when I was about to go get my nails done, she was like, I feel like my body's finally calmed down enough to take a nap. And I'm like, okay, cool, go home. So she stayed at home or whatever. I went and got my nails done. When I came back from getting my nails done, it was around like 9:30. I had stopped and got me some Arby's. So I was eating my food, but when I came in, she was cleaning. So I ate my food, and then I started helping cleaning with her. That was like one of our things.
Let me pause you there again. So you said you're back now at 9:30, we're talking nighttime.
Yes, ma'am.
And you came back with some dinner from Marquis.
Yes, ma'am.
And when you came back, it's Miss Mejia, Danishka, she's cleaning up around the house.
Correct.
Okay, take us from there.
Okay. So after I finished eating, I started cleaning with her. That was like our, you know how like friends, they got that one thing that they do, like we go skating together every Tuesday. Or me and Danny's thing is we clean together. We listen to music and we clean together. So we were cleaning up and we cleaned up, my baby's father got there. He was like, "Dang, y'all already ate or whatever." So he went and got him some food. Then Danny left basically right after him to go to the store. While they were gone, I had went and got in the shower. When I got out of the shower, they were both coming back. I'm sorry. They were both coming back, and I was lotioning my body up, I was putting my clothes on, and Danny went and got in the shower. So she took a shower and everything. I'm still in there putting my clothes on. My baby's father, he's eating in the room. After that, she had knocked on the door. She had knocked on like the bedroom door or whatever. And when she knocked on the door, I opened the door, like I cracked it and opened it, and I saw that she was standing there bust out. She was butt naked. So we bust out laughing, like, "What are you doing?" And she was like, "Yeah, the lotion." Gave her the lotion, she went in her room. We had 2 dogs and a cat. Well, we had 2 dogs and a cat in the house, and they were always doing something. So, out of nowhere, it was just like this crash of glass, but it didn't sound like one single thing. It just sounded like a whole bunch of glasses just falling. So, me and my daddy, like, we looked at each other, and like, we was basically trying to race to the door, but he got there before me. He turned the knob, like, opened it, looked out, and then instantly, like, shut the door, pushed it back. And I was like, and then that's when they busted in the door, like, everybody.
Can I pause you there? Are you talking about the door to your bedroom or another door?
The door to my bedroom, they had already came in. We had a door in our dining room, like the door with the glass in the middle of it. That's how they got in. They went through the glass of that door. So
you hear it first.
Correct.
You hear the breaking glass, and then DeAndre goes to the bedroom door, and then what happens next?
After DeAndre shut the door fast, they came in, busted in really fast. They was aiming guns and stuff, and they was demanding to give up the phones and stuff.
Let's pause there. You say they. How many people were inside your house now?
It's 3.
3. Could you tell whether these were men or women?
Yeah, I could tell by the build and the place, you know.
Okay. Can you describe the different builds of the 3 men that you saw?
This is the way I describe them. I describe Latwan, He looks evil. Like, if you see his ears, they're pointy at the top, like a little demon. So I thought he's the little midget, evil one. Then it's Edward. I call him the bigger one. He's heavier weighted. And then Marquis, I call him the kid.
Okay. You said kid, let's talk about his build though. What about him physically? Would you,
He looks like a fry. No shit.
a skinny man?
Yes.
Okay. So we've got, you talked about Osborne. How would you describe his physical build though?
He's short. He might be 5'7", 5'8". He's got like a rock head. He's bald. He's not very attractive.
Well, let's talk about what they were dressed like when they entered your home.
They were all dusty. They all came in with like all black on sweats and dirty shoes.
Okay. Were they wearing any masks or anything else to obscure their face?
They were all wearing masks, yes, and they all had on red flags.
Okay.
Or had a red flag in their hand or in their pocket or something like that.
And when you say flag, does that mean bandana or do you mean a literal flag?
Yes, ma'am, a bandana.
Okay, so if I understand you correctly, they're all mostly in black
Correct.
with black face masks,
Correct.
but like a pop of red color and a bandana
Correct.
somewhere on them.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When you first encountered these men, could you tell immediately they had weapons on them?
Yes.
Did they have them in hand?
Yes. They had in hand, in face.
You mean your face?
Correct.
Okay. And were they saying anything as they first invaded the home?
Yeah, they told, like I said, they told us to give them our phones. And DeAndre had his phone in his pocket, but I didn't have my phone because, like I said, I just got out the shower. So I'm like, I don't know where my phone is at. And Edward was like, I'm not about to play with you. Give me your phone or I'm going to shoot you. And I was like, look, man, I don't know where it's at. It might be somewhere on the bed. So he searched for it, and he guarded my phone. Because after that happened, they made us get up and travel, and now we're all in Danny's room.
Okay. I want to talk about that more in a second, but I have a few follow-up. The men who had invaded your home through the glass door, this will sound silly, but did they have permission to enter the home?
No.
Okay. And you said they demanded your cell phone and DeAndre Thaxton's cell phone.
Correct.
Did they have permission to take those phones?
No.
Did you want to give them your cell phone?
Absolutely not.
Okay. I'm going to ask you about the one masked man you described as Ellis, the skinny one, the French fry. Do you remember anything special about the gun he had on him?
They had 2 guns.
So like a double drum magazine?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you've gotten us to the point where they've taken you from your bedroom to Miss Mejia's bedroom.
Correct.
How did they get you from one location to another?
Basically, like the groups we followed the leader.
Okay.
One of them had, like, one of the shooters was in the front, and then we'd be in the middle, and then a shooter in the back, like that.
They had you and Mr. Thaxton blocked in.
Correct.
And then when you got to Miss Mejia's room, was she there present in her bedroom at that time? And what did you see and hear occur while you were in Miss Mejia's bedroom?
When we first went in there, he was going through her purse.
When you say he,
Latwan had kept them separated from us at first. She was in her room, and then we was in our room. When we moved into Danny's room, like I said, he was going through her stuff.
okay. And was he specifically going through her purse or through all of her bedroom?
Basically, no, I wouldn't, he was going through her purse, yes, but I wouldn't just say he was ramshacking the room. He'd just go through little stuff where he thought stuff would be.
Did you see him take anything from the purse?
Yeah, he took her phone for sure. I know that for sure. And then, she had $150 he took that from her too.
Okay. Was Miss Mejia also at gunpoint at that point in time that you're describing?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yes and no. They have guns pointed, but it's not like, they're not at our head.
The whole time?
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So there's times they keep them in their hand at all times, but don't always have it pointed at you.
Not exactly. It's always pointed at us. It's just not always in our face.
Okay, gotcha. Did you witness or hear anything else occur while upstairs in Miss Mejia's bedroom?
No.
Okay. What happened next?
From the bedroom,
Yeah.
after I don't know how long we sat there, so let me sat there for so long. Cause he just kept asking her, like, they was just going back and forth, basically. Like, she was like, I promise I didn't tell on you, I didn't tell him your name, like that, back and forth. I don't believe you, and back and forth, back and forth. Then he
So that's
came-
Miss Mejia you're talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
You heard her making statements like, I didn't give them your name?
Correct.
Okay. And she's saying this to the person who's rifling through her purse?
That's right, yes.
Okay.
He told, Edward and Marquis to take us downstairs in the basement and just hold us. So that's what they did. We went downstairs in the basement and we stood there at gunpoint, which seemed like forever. I don't know how long it was, but I swear it literally felt like I was standing there just waiting to die for a long time. It's like, you know when police put you in the interrogation room and they leave you in there for a while to let your brain spin? That's what it was like. Like, I'm just sitting there with my thoughts, like, I'm about to die, like, oh my God, my baby's about to die. Oh my God, I'm about to lose my life out of nowhere. So, that's...
I'm going to repeat a couple of things you said to make sure I understand them, okay? So, as you're ending your time in Miss Mejia's bedroom, you hear Osborne say to the other two, take them downstairs to the basement.
Correct.
Meaning you and Mr. Thaxton.
Correct. I want to back up because I feel like it's important to me. First of all, I love my dog. My dog is very important to me. He broke in my house. And of course my dog was barking. My dog is a pit. Of course he's barking. He's barking to our house. She kept trying to charge at him or whatever, but I think she could sense my fear, so she wouldn't do it. He told me, excuse my language, everyone. He looked at me and said, before I leave, I'm going to shoot the shit out of your dog. And then Edward was like, well, why don't you just do it right now? And then Swan said, oh no, that's going to make too much noise, but I'm going to get him before I leave. He did not end up shooting my dog, but he did stab her. He stuck it in, right here, and tried to slice. I had to make sure I added that in, because that's not in no police report or anything, and I feel like that should be known, because my dog is like my child. So, that happened.
That happened while you were still upstairs in Miss Mejia's bedroom?
No, I have actually no idea when that happened, because after we went back, after they took us downstairs, I never went back upstairs.
Okay. Well, let's talk about going down to the basement. When you initially were taken down to the basement, was it by the other two other than Mr. Osborne?
Correct.
And that was both you and Mr. Thaxton who initially go to the basement?
Correct.
And you're saying there was a long period of time where you were just forced to sit there at gunpoint or under threat of a gun?
I think it's funny, this is a little bit off topic, but I think it's funny that Marquis is not only the youngest one, but the smallest built too, and he had the biggest gun. But they basically had Marquis on me and Eddie on DeAndre, because DeAndre knows them and he could identify them.
Okay.
So they really were trying to make sure DeAndre was gone, because like I said, DeAndre know them, he know their name, he know their face. I don't know them, well, before all of this happened, I don't know them, I didn't know their name, I didn't know their face, I didn't know nothing about them. So, Marquis, he was my nectar, and Eddie was DeAndre's,
Okay,
and Tweety was Danny's. That's basically how it was broke up.
okay. So they kind of divided their attention, and you would say the skinny one, who you
Correct.
now know to be Mr. Ellis,
Correct.
was mostly focused on you.
Yes.
Okay. And when you guys were down in the basement, at any point did Danishka and the third man, Osborne, come down to the basement area? Okay. And when they came down to the basement and joined you guys, can you tell us what happened in the basement?
When they first came downstairs, he basically just got straight to it. He looked at us. Can I say the words exactly how they were said? Or do
Yes, you are allowed to verbatim repeat what you remember the defendant saying.
He came down the stairs, and then we were like huddled up basically around in a circle. And he said, look, this is how it's gonna go. He looked at DeAndre and then looked at Danny, and he was like, look, this is how it's gonna go. She's gonna shoot you in your head, and then after that, y'all good to go. And then we all looked at him like you're playing, right? And he was like, and he started to like hand her the gun, and like she wouldn't take the gun or whatever, and then we're all begging, pleading, crying, like, please don't do this, man. Like, I'm about to have a baby. I need this, man. Like, please don't do this. And then that goes on and on and on and on and on and on for a good second, too.
Let's clarify there. So when Osborne and Danishka came down to the basement, is it Osborne or one of the other two who's saying she's gonna shoot you guys?
No, it's Osborne.
Okay.
I don't want to cry because I've cried so much over this. He told her to shoot DeAndre in the head, and she just kept begging and pleading. We all kept begging and pleading, like, please don't do this. That man showed no remorse, nothing at all. He did not care about nothing instead. After that, he said, okay, look, I got something else for you. And he pulled out a bag of dope. And he was like, you better snort all of this. And after that, you good to go. And she was like, okay, if I snort this, you're not going to shoot them, are you? And he was like, no, y'all good to go after this. So he got, we already had stuff downstairs, like random stuff. We already had dishes down there. So he found a plate and he poured a whole bunch of it on a plate. And she came up to me and she hugged me and she hugged DeAndre. And she told me, she hugged me, she said, I'm so sorry. She was like, I love you. And then she pulled me in closer and she whispered in my ear and she was like, when they leave, rush me to the hospital. So we had already had a plan, so like, it was bad, but we were already planning how to get out of it, so I was trying to think that way more.
So can I pause you there and ask a couple of clarifying questions? You said that, was it Mr. Osborne who pulled dope out?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you say dope, are you talking about like a powdery type of narcotic of some
I
sort?
say dope because I didn't know exactly what it was.
Okay, but it appeared to be in a powder form to you. And was it in a plastic baggie or in some other type of baggie? Okay, a sandwich bag. And he poured it onto a plate. And you're saying it appeared to you like a large amount of it?
Yes.
Okay. And if I understand you correctly, Danishka was given the option to snort all that powder, and if she did that, he was gonna leave her alone and not make her shoot you guys.
He said, like I said, when she asked him when she asked him if she did it, would he that she'd be good to go too. He said, you snort all this and you live, you just meant to be alive. So that's basically what we was thinking, because the whole thing was, it happened so fast, it was so weird, and it was like watching yourself in a movie or something, because nothing felt real. It was, I don't know how to describe it, but it didn't feel real. Like it's so scary that you can't even like jump. It's more of like you just freeze. You know the term fight or fright. There wasn't even that. It was just like a freeze moment, because it was so many thoughts running through your head, so many things that could go wrong, and then people are jumping. And then on top of that, I thought they were on drugs. So when someone's on drugs, I know they're already paranoid because they keep bringing it up like, hey, we've been here way too long. We were supposed to come in here, shoot them, and be gone. So with them already being paranoid.
I want to pause you there. You've talked about one of them saying, we've been here too long, we were supposed to just shoot them and be gone. Which one of them made that kind of comment?
That remark was made by Marquis. Edward, he said that he was ready to go because he was ready to go home and watch Dragon Ball Z.
Okay, so you heard Mr. Wilson say something along the lines of he's ready to be done, he wants to go home. And it's Dragon Ball Z, that's like a cartoon show.
Correct.
Animation. How did the others react to that kind of comment?
What's her name? Tweezy, he kind of like snorted a little bit, like basically take this serious, but at the same time he was like, y'all do be watching that show too though.
Okay. Well, walk us through what happened next. You've taken us to the point where these narcotics have been poured out onto a plate, and Ms. Mejia has been given an option to snort those drugs. What did you see and hear happen next?
He poured the dope on the plate, and then like I said, she hugged us and stuff. And he told Eddie to go find a straw. He came back with a straw, he found one, and then he was like, go get a knife to cut it. And Eddie, he said, he was like, no, they got scissors. They're fancy over here, they got scissors. I never knew it was fancy to have scissors, but apparently it is. If no one knew that, it's fancy to have scissors in your house. So he came back downstairs, he cut the straw, he gave it to her, and she just kept going.
So who cut the straw?
Tweezy did.
Okay. And gave her the straw?
Yes. Did you hear that sniffle? Did you hear that sound?
If you could just answer the questions I asked.
I'm just trying to let the sniff that you hear, that is all you heard for the next however long.
Okay, I understand. I'm sorry.
That's what I was trying to show.
Okay. So after he gave her the straw, you're hearing sniffling sounds.
Just straight that for a long time. Everything was quiet, nobody was saying anything. All you heard was just the sniffles.
Okay. Could you also see Miss Mejia attempting to snort the drugs from the plate?
Yeah.
Did she have an easy time of it, or did you see her have any difficulty?
No, at first, when she first started doing it, she was like, she didn't know how to do it. So he walked her through it, explained how to do it. Then, after she had did so much of it, he was like, it's stuck, like I can't get no more to go up there, like, it won't go up there no more. So he instructed Eddie to go upstairs to get some water to pour in her nose. But, he did, but before he got back with the water, she was losing consciousness.
Okay. How could you tell Miss Mejia was starting to lose consciousness?
She got super happy. She was like, She said, I told y'all I could do it. I'm a real Costa Rican, E-I-T-C-H. And she laughed. She just kept laughing and stuff. And she was like wavy. That's the word I like to use. Like her body was just
Waving back and forth.
Exactly. But she was laughing and she was happy. She was high as a kite.
Okay.
And then she went out.
When she went out, did she fall to the floor?
No, she was already, like, when she was wavy, she was already going down.
So she took herself down first?
Yeah, she
Okay.
didn't just flop down, yeah.
Okay. Once she fell to the floor, or once she was on the floor completely, could you tell whether or not she was still alive?
No, because, not at first, because when she first went down, I was so hysterical, my eyes was filled. I wasn't, like, thinking about it. I don't know what I was thinking at the time. I just know that it didn't feel real. It didn't feel real. I was waiting to wake up, honestly. It was weird, like, 'cause I had never seen nothing like that, number one. And number two, this is my best friend, like, I've known this girl for years, like, years. And no way, because it's hard enough, number one, to lose your best friend, but it's a whole different ball game to watch her die and not be able to do anything about it. Not like, I prayed, I just kept praying and begging God, but that did not bring her back. And that is like the worst feeling in the world. Like, then keep in mind the whole time that she's snoring and stuff, they're sitting here just taunting me, like, they're saying the most evilest things ever. Like, I'm 8 months pregnant. They shot me the day before my baby shower. My baby shower was the next day. So, and when I was in the hospital, I stayed in the hospital for 3 weeks. So when I got real close to the nurses, and I was like, oh my God, your nails are so cute. And I'm like, yeah, they were supposed to be my baby shower nails, but they almost turned into my funeral nails.
Miss Young, I want to talk about when Miss Mejia was on the floor in the basement before she ultimately died. Did you see any of the men do anything to her while she was down?
Yeah. After he went down, after she went down, for a brief second, he just stood over her and looked down at her, basically in like disgust, and he just looked down at her. And then he poured the rest of the dope, like the plate, he poured the rest of it in her mouth and like closed her mouth and tried to make sure like it went down.
When you say he, which
one?
Okay.
Then he took a water bottle, poured it on her face, kept smacking her back and forth and back and forth. And at this point, like, I guess she was lacking oxygen so much that like she started to become blue, like she was turning blue or something. That's when he took a trash bag and he put it around her head and he zip tied it and he held it down. And he held it down for a good second. I don't know how long. After that, I couldn't see no more after that. He held it down for a long, long time, and then finally he like ripped the bag in half, and she took a deep breath, and it pissed them off. They were super mad after that. Then they just kept doing stuff. So after that, the bag incident, I couldn't watch it no more. So, like I said, downstairs, that's where our washing machine and stuff is. So I poured a basket of clothes over it, and I sat on the basket, and I had my arm around my baby daddy's side like this, and I had this arm holding my stomach like this. So I'm like this, and I had my head like in my baby daddy's side right here. So gone, and then I heard him take a couple steps, and then
Before you get there, I do want to hear about all those details. But before she appeared to be gone, did you make any efforts to revive Danishka?
yeah, he made me give her CPR.
When you say he, who are you talking about?
He ordered me to give her CPR, not because he wanted to bring her back so she could finish this swimming lesson. So
Okay.
that's not his word. She needs to get up and she needs to finish this shit.
Okay. So you heard Mr. Osborne tell you, demand that you attempt CPR on her because he wanted her to have to finish nor make the drugs. And you did make efforts to revive her. Were they successful?
She's in here, so
Could you tell whether anybody was filming any portion of what was going on?
yeah, he recorded basically the whole process. Why? I have no idea. Weirdest criminals I've ever seen in my life.
Okay. So you said that Latoine, meaning Mr. Osborne, appeared to be filming a lot of what was going on. How was he filming? Are we talking about like a video recorder or with a cell phone?
With the cell phone. He recorded it off Dan's phone and my baby's father's phone.
Okay, so you saw him using both Danishka's phone and DeAndre Thaxton's phone to make recordings.
Correct.
Okay. Let's go back to where you left off before I interrupted you. You were at the point that they were done with what they were going to do with Danishka, and you had kind of clutched on to DeAndre and had hidden your face. Tell us what happened next.
After that, I closed my eyes. I heard him say, I think she's gone. I'm sorry. This is important. I feel like this is important for the jury to know. Before she passed away, he made sure that she passed away before he made sure she passed before he left. His exact words was, see, after this she's got to go, 'cause I know she's going to tell after this. So, I forgot that was important.
And who did you hear say that?
Latoine.
Okay.
Because he was already accused of the rape. So, like I said, he said that she had to die because after the break-in, she would take the jail. So, after he made sure that she was gone, I just started hearing gunshots. Because like I said, my eyes was closed, I couldn't see nothing. I started hearing gunshots, and I just like grabbed myself and just fell over. And then finally, like I waited a second, and finally I sat up and I looked around, and like I looked to the left of me, and I had seen her, and she was sprawled out, and she was turning blue. And then I looked to the right of me, and my baby's father, he was like crouched down like this in a corner. And I was like, are you okay? And he said no, but when he tried to, I don't even know if he said no. He tried to say something, and when he did, blood, that is so visual. Blood was gushing out his mouth when I asked him, was he okay? But at that point, I didn't know I was shot. I didn't feel anything yet. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I stood up, and when I stood up, my arm just slumped like that, and I tried to pick it up, and I looked down, and I saw it, and then the pain never went away. It never went away. For weeks, I felt that same pain. Oh my gosh, it was horrible. So after that, I'm thinking, like, because this don't even seem like real life right now, I'm thinking, I'm in a movie. So I'm like, okay, boom, in movies, they wrap the arm up to, like, they apply pressure to stop bleeding, because I'm gushing blood. A lot of people don't know, but 4 months before this incident happened, I had got diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, so blood cancer. So, I was gushing out blood. And fast too. So I was starting to wheeze, like I was starting to go out of it. So I'm right-handed, number one. I got shot in my right hand. Back then, I couldn't do nothing with my left hand. So I'm trying to wrap my arm, and I'm struggling because, like I said, I'm right-handed. It hurts so bad. My whole arm feels so heavy, and it's hard to hold it up. It's freezing outside. Every time I shiver, more blood just keeps gushing out. So as I'm standing there trying to wrap myself, I hear walking like again. So I try to hurry up and turn around and go back to where I was sitting. But I was, like I said, so much blood was coming out so fast. I looked down and I could see my footprints in the blood. So I'm like, oh my God, he's been down. I'm alive. He's about to kill me. Marquis came back down the stairs. He peeked his head down and he was like, "Where's Dressa?" My baby's father is a music producer. That's his tag name. He was like, "Where's Dressa at? Where's Dressa at?" And he shot at DeAndre 3 more times and then took off running back down. Upstairs.
So let's talk about that for a second. There was a period of time after the initial round of shots went off.
Correct.
Let's talk about the initial round of shots. Could you tell exactly how many rounds were fired?
No.
But more than one that you heard. And after the gunshots initially ended, did you hear the men head upstairs, or could you tell what direction they went in?
Yeah, they went upstairs.
Okay.
They went fast too.
Okay. And at that point, you made efforts to kind of assess the situation and then attend to your own wound that you realized you had. How long from that first volley of fires until you're saying that Marquis Ellis came back down into the basement?
It wasn't long at all, really. It was, I don't know, like longer than 5 minutes.
Okay. And at that point, you heard him alone fire off some additional rounds in the basement. Okay. And then at that point in time, did he leave or appear to leave to you?
Correct.
And how did he appear to leave?
He went back up the steps.
Okay. At that point in time, did you immediately take steps to flee or to contact 911?
Yes and no. Okay. After he went back upstairs, I stood back up. I tried to wrap my arm again, that didn't work, so I said, forget it. Once, I think before, when I was describing our garage, I said that we had a second door, like after you come down the steps, big room full of junk, then you go for another door, is where the actual car garages are. I opened that door, and I stood there and I was listening upstairs because you know, like when you push a garage door sound, it makes it sound like, and it's real loud. I'm thinking, okay, well, if I push this button, he go down so low, he gonna kill me. So I'm standing there listening or whatever, but once again, I just got out the shower. I had on a t-shirt and some shorts that might as well be in underwear. So I'm freezing, like I'm shivering, and I'm shivering and gushing. So I'm losing blood really fast, and I'm starting to like spin, like I'm starting to see stars basically. So I'm like smacking myself at this point, and I hear my big daddy say something to me. I don't know what he said now, but he said something to me. So I'm like, okay, Tia, just forget it. I pushed the button and I went over to the next door neighbor house as fast as I could and banged on their doorbell. The police called the police for me.
Okay. Can you tell us, why didn't you call the police from the basement?
He took my phone immediately as he came in the house.
Okay. And same thing for DeAndre. He also didn't have possession of his phone there in the basement. Okay. And did the police respond to your neighbor's house?
Yes.
And were you taken to the hospital that night or that early morning for treatment?
Yes.
And what kind of treatment did you receive for your gunshot wounds? Do you have surgery?
Yeah, 4.
4 surgeries? Was that surgery, so can you demonstrate for the jury, you've got your right arm facing the jury, what different parts of your arm were struck by bullets?
I got shot right here. First of all, you can tell I got shot in my hand because I have a hook cat. That's why I call it Captain Hook. So, I got shot in my hand right here. Wait. My tattoo artist is amazing, so you can't tell as much more. I got shot right here in the hand, and I got right here. Then I got shot right here where it's puffy. This was the worst one out of all of them. Because this one, when he shot me here, it traveled up, so it shattered this whole bone right here. It wasn't broke. The whole thing shattered. So that's why it looks like that, because it's nothing but metal. It's nothing. That's the sort of vaccine I have. It don't bend forward and nothing. And then, from this one too, I also got sliced here, and I have a plate this big in there that never come out. So, and that would be my last gunshot. Well, my last gunshot. When right here. Also was grazed right here. Okay, the other one is back arm, I can see that. But I was also grazed on the finger too. And so I was shot 3 times and I was grazed 3 times too. 8 months pregnant with Hodgkin's lymphoma the day before my baby shot.
Are you left with permanent scars either from the entry or exit of the bullet or from surgeries you had as a result? Is that a yes? You're demonstrating
Yeah.
around your wrist area, you're left with some significant scarring.
Scar here, of course, that one, that little one right there, these, and this, all these little ones, it looks like, they look like that because that's how the stitches was. I never did that, but this is what stitches look like. They look like a line with like 2 little knots on the side of them, and that's why it looks like that. Because all the stitches I would get, and the plates, and the rods in there, and doctor said, this is not getting, it's never going, number one, I'll never have 100% mobility again. Number 2, it's only going to get worse as I get older, because I'm going to start growing arthritis more, and but basically, my hand goes through a mixture of different, I can get the sharp pains where it feels like something stabbing me, or a lightning strike, like a lightning struck through my hand, or the throbbing pains, or the tingling pains, or the numbness pain. All the time. Especially during this time, because it's cold outside, and it rains.
So for the record, when you were asked about scarring, you pointed to the top of your right hand, to kind of your wrist and forearm area. And did you also point to any part of the underside of your hand?
Yeah, but that's just where the bullet came out.
Okay. And that's scarring that you've talked about, but you've also talked about lingering effects that you have from these gunshot wounds. When you went into the hospital the morning of April 5th, how long did you stay in the hospital for?
2 weeks.
3 weeks. And you've told us previously your baby's due date was originally supposed to be in May of 2024. Did she come as expected, or did she come early?
Let me tell you about my little Mooney. July. On April the 10th, we had this, they collected me, and 10 other doctors, heart, lungs, baby doctor, cancer doctor, the sewing doctor, a whole bunch of different doctors. They sat me down and they like, looked here, because they wanted to induce me, I'm sorry. They wanted to induce me at 37 weeks because I wouldn't let them give me chemo while I was pregnant. So they wanted to induce me at 37 weeks. We had the meeting and I was like, okay, see, look, we cannot do that because you're going to die. You or your baby's going to die. We have to plan for this. Because I had my first baby all natural, no epidural, just straight pushed around. I wanted to do the same with this baby. I was like, that's absolutely not possible. Can't have no vaginal birth, and you have to have an epidural. It has to be planned. We have to have certain doctors and blah, 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 or you are going to die, or you or your baby is going to die. I said, okay, cool. I just got shot 6 days ago, so I'm not really in the best place to take care of this newborn baby anyway. My due date's not for another 4 weeks. Cool. So I go back to my room, and then 10 hours later, I'm sitting there talking to my granddad, just like I'm sitting there talking to you. I'm sitting there talking to him, and boop, and I said, and my granddad said, sure water broke, didn't it? Broke. Yeah. So I had the worst C-section ever because they thought I was going to die. So they had to take all these extra precautions. I don't know if everyone knows what an echo machine is. It's where it drains all the blood out of your body and keeps it regulating in a machine so you don't die. I had to have one of those because they thought I was going to die. Also, I know because I was there for so long, number one. Number two, my story seems like it's from a movie because no one's ever seen a 23-year-old that has cancer, is 8 months pregnant, and got shot 3 times. Not really something you see every day, so all the nurses pretty much like me. I'd go far as say is love me. I had this one nurse, her name was Caitlin. After I had my baby, I ended up having to go to the ICU for 2 days. Then I ended up getting moved back to my regular floor. When I got back to my regular floor and that nurse came in there to see me, because she didn't know that I was in there for a second. She came in there to see me or whatever, and when she saw me, she busted out crying, and she told me, she was like, the doctors was telling her that I wasn't going to survive the surgery. So she cried and hugged me. It was like, this is sweet, man. You don't even know me. No, you. But it was sweet. But I say all that to say is, yes, that getting shots put me at risk for a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff.
Thankfully, did your baby arrive to this world okay, though?
She's big bad now. She'll be 2 next month, going on 25.
Okay, good to hear that.
Her attitude worse than mine. Her and Danny share the same middle name. You should see her attitude. Oh, people knew Danny and her attitude, and then this little squirt and her attitude, man. The little Melinas. Oh.
Miss Young, were photographs taken of you when you were at the hospital the night of the shooting?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you recognize photographs of yourself if I were to show them to you?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just gonna ask you to look at all of them and make sure they're true and accurate photos of you and your body the night of the shooting.
This is crazy. Sometimes it still don't make sense real. I look at my head every day. Sometimes I still can't believe this. This is all me though.
Are all of these exhibits 4 through 11 true and accurate depictions of your condition at the hospital the night of the shooting? I'd like to move those into evidence as it states next, exhibits 4 through 11.
Any objections, sir? All right, without objection, those will be received as exhibits 4 through 11.
And permission to publish.
You may.
What does publish mean?
It each show the jury.
Oh. I would like to say something.
Before you do, Ms. Jones, we've now got these photos pulled up on the big screen.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you as we go through these, do you recognize that to be yourself in the photograph?
Yes, ma'am.
And this photo was taken of you at UT Hospital.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, that's me. Still me. Now that one is the only, when I realized I was shot, that's the only one that I thought I had. Because I thought that was my bone hanging out, and it's my tendon hanging out. So when I was in the ambulance, they were trying to check me for like everywhere I was shot at. And I'm like, I'm only shot right here, I'm shot right here. And then he was like, no, we just gotta check. And then I started hearing them, she shot here, she shot here. And I'm like, oh, what? Shot where else? So this was the one that really effed me up. That's also me. Yeah. That was what took wiped my whole entire nervous system out of my right hand.
Now, in this last exhibit, exhibit 11, we see blood on your legs.
Yeah.
Were your legs actually injured?
No, that is from my arm gushing out so much blood. None of the blood was from my legs or feet. I wasn't injured, waist below whatsoever. All of that is from my arm. That's how bad I was bleeding out.
Did police investigators come to the hospital and ask you questions about what happened?
Correct.
Okay, so when you had your police interviews, they were either immediately at the scene or at the hospital?
Correct.
Okay. Let's see. I want to show you some pictures from the home that might help the jury better understand whose bedroom is who when they look at the crime scene photographs later on.
Okay.
May I approach? Yeah, I'm now going to show you what have been pre-marked as exhibits 12, 13, and 14. Do you recognize the bedrooms depicted in those photographs?
Yeah, what's funny is these pictures, like, are how our rooms are, describe our personality so much.
Starting with this image, I think it's exhibit 12. Can you tell us whose bedroom does that belong to?
12 is mine, 14 is Danny's, 13 is Faith's.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to mark on the back of each photograph whose bedroom that belongs to. If you could, you're marking exhibit 12, and if you could mark whose bedroom that is.
Before we go further, do you want to address the evidence?
I was gonna move them in once she had marked them.
Okay.
You sure you don't need to Sharpie?
Yeah.
Look, my information.
Mark whose bedroom it is and then put your initials below that. So this time I've asked to move into evidence Exhibit 12, which has been marked by the witness as her own bedroom. She is in.
Any objection? No. All right, that'll be received as Exhibit 12.
And you can mark that one next.
Is it off right now? It took me a month. So I gotta write again.
For the record, I'd like to move into evidence Exhibit 13, which has been marked as Faith's room by the witness.
Any objection? All right, that'll be received as 13.
And then Exhibit 14, which has been marked as Danny's room by the witness.
Any objection? All right, we'll receive that as Exhibit 14.
And permission to publish
You
this.
may.
So I'm publishing now what was marked as Exhibit 12. Is that the exhibit that you marked as your own bedroom?
Yes, that's the room.
And now for Exhibit 13, is this the exhibit that you marked as Faith's room?
Yes, ma'am.
And then finally, Exhibit 14, is that the exhibit you marked as Danny's or Danishka's room?
Yes, my little pink clover. I sleep with that pillow every night.
Now I'm going to ask to approach and show you a few cell phones that were collected from around the home after these events occurred and see if you recognize any of those cell phones.
Okay. Question.
May I approach?
You may.
I'm showing you what will be exhibits 15 through 21. Starting with the phone depicted in exhibit 15. Do you recognize that phone?
I believe that's Danny's phone.
Okay. You recognize that to be Danny's bed.
Right.
Can you mark on the back of that exhibit, or exhibit 15, Danny's phone? Yes, please. And I'd like to move that into evidence at this time, this exhibit 15.
Any objection?
Got it.
That'll be received as Exhibit 15.
Should I write mine and the others?
So looking at exhibit 16 now, do you see two cell phones located on that bed? And you recognize that bed to be your bed? Can you identify in that photograph whose cell phones those are?
Yes.
Can you write on the back of that photograph who those two cell phones belong to? mark number 2 as your phone, Kia's phone, and number 3 is DeAndre's phone.
Okay.
Okay? We can move that into evidence 6, next exhibit 16.
Any objection? All right, better receive this exhibit 16.
This one is my phone.
So we've next got a close-up of what was pictured in the previous photograph, and you recognize that to be your phone?
Yes.
Okay, can you mark again to this phone?
This is DeAndre's.
Before you move on to that, are we at exhibit 17?
17.
I'd like to move into evidence exhibit 17.
Any objection? All right, better
This is
receive
Dunn's
this.
phone, the closer ever, you know.
The closer-up version of Ms. Young's phone.
That'll be received as exhibit 17.
And now looking at what's marked as exhibit 18, can you mark on the back of that whose phone that belongs to? For the record, you've marked exhibit 18 as DeAndre's phone. Is that a close-up of
Yes.
the phone from the previous image? Okay. Now looking at exhibit 19, 19 and 20 really go together. Do you recognize the phone depicted there?
Okay, yes.
Okay. Now, is this the same phone that belonged to Danny or Danishka that we saw earlier on her bedroom, or is this an additional phone?
No, this is her own phone.
Okay, so an older phone, but belonging also to Miss Mejia.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you mark this one as maybe Danny's old phone or Danny's second phone?
Yes.
And mark 20 the same way you did 19, since they're the same phone from a different angle. Just asking you to mark it the same way you did the previous image, since it's the same phone. This time I'd like to move into evidence exhibits 19 and 20, which have both been marked as two images of Danny's old
I
phone.
think we also need to move into 18. Any objection to 18 through 20? All right, those are received as exhibits 18 through 20.
And permission to publish.
You may.
Start with what has been introduced as exhibit 15. Is this what you would indicate would be Danishka's newer cell phone located on her bed? And then for exhibit 16, we have a picture. Is this your bed with two cell phones located on it? And then in exhibit 17, do we have a close-up of one of those two phones? And whose cell phone have you identified that to be? Two. To be DeAndre?
Two is mine.
Two is yours. Okay, then with exhibit 18, a close-up of that second cell phone on your bed. Whose cell or DeAndre put those cell phones back on the bed before fleeing the house?
No,
Did you ever have possession of them before leaving the home?
no. That's what didn't make no sense after everything. After he reported everything, I thought he was using it just in case, like, he could be like, well, she actually the one that did it, or he's actually the one that did it. I was just there. But then he left the phones there, and it just like, God, y'all are the worst criminals I've ever met in my life.
It didn't make much sense to you?
At all.
Okay, but those are your cell phones?
Yes.
Okay. May I have just a second?
Sure.
One clarifying question. There's been a couple of times when you've referred to somebody by the name of Tweezy. Who is Tweezy?
That Twisty is the Twan's street name.
Okay, so if you were talking about something Tweezy did, you're referring to LaTwan Osborne.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's all I have for you. Thank you.
Question. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's 4:45. I told you I'd get you out of here about 4:30 or so, so I apologize for going a little bit over. But nonetheless, we're going to call it quits for the day, and Mr. Harper will be recognized tomorrow for cross-examination, okay? So again, I need to instruct you folks to not discuss this case amongst yourselves. If you have a significant other, don't discuss it with them. As you can see, the media is present, so there will be reports on this. So I'm going to ask you not to seek out those reports. If you inadvertently come across one, do make sure that you immediately disengage from that particular post. And if that happens, let the court know tomorrow morning, okay? With that being said, put this case out of your mind, and we will see you back tomorrow about 9:15. Okay?